Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 11th day of June. Game 3 of the NBA Finals will be on here shortly in about, 30 minutes or so, if not this particular part of the hour. Going to make a quick take on that prediction for tonight's game. Give you my take on these finals. There's a little bit of a rating. There's a big ratings dip, actually. Talk about that. Monumental official, we kind of saw it coming. But the NCAA, now college teams can actually pay players, folks. They can pay players to pay directly from the college. I think it's a great thing. It's a really, really good start here to get some stability with this NIL and stuff. Others don't agree. Joe Alexander's a free agent. I'll talk about that. Teams that I think that he should look at and potentially play for coming up. And, of course, Simone Biles. Boy, she got into the political lane with Riley Gaines, the swimmer there. And, man, she got out of it real quick. So stand by, folks. We'll take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Okay, now let's talk about tonight's game. And I just double-checked it. It's going to be 30 minutes past the hour, and it probably won't tip off to about 40 minutes past the hour. Listen, it's a 1-1 series. I said I thought this series would go 6 games. Oklahoma City's actually a 5.5-point favorite. I'll tell you this right now, folks. I actually think the Pacers are going to win this game. I think they're going to win this particular game. I'll get to that here in just a second. This is lowest rated series since 1988. 8.9 million people in game 1. They criticized for lack of star power. You hear a lot of the sports media say mild personalities. I think the product's better than people are talking about. Personally, I like the pace of this particular series. I like the strategies that both coaches are putting on the star players of each team. Even in game 2, when it was a 16-point win there for the Oklahoma City Thunder, it looked like the game still felt to be intact. As quick as this Pacer team can go on runs, I really felt like that this game was really interesting. Of course, we saw what happened in game 1 last time I talked to you. They made a crazy comeback at the very end and won in the last-second shot there by Tyrese Halliburton to win the game. So I kept thinking, man, they're going to come back. They're going to come back. And, of course, OKC clamped down on defense, made it happen, and whatnot. But it felt closer. I mean, like I said, SGA and Halliburton, I've enjoyed watching the defensive chess play there between the two coaching staffs, trying to keep both of these players in a box here. And it's just a good game. It feels a good series. It feels like an NCAA tournament-like series, if you ask me particularly. Listen, as far as the low ratings are concerned, Tyrese Halliburton, not necessarily a household name. I know we saw a little bit of him in the playoffs last year. SGA, saw him as a good player, never really saw him as a great, dynamic Anthony Edwards type of player as far as dynamic is concerned, but very solid, very efficient. This team's very solid, very efficient, best record. Obviously, he's an MVP guy. Now he's starting to get a little bit of notoriety, but that kind of plays into why this is considered to be a low-rated series and not really getting a lot of people's attention. There's not a lot of build-up with these two teams. I thought the Indiana Knicks series was a lot better, a lot more interesting. There's some build-up. There's some long history going back 25 years and, 30 years for guys that are my age. And, of course, the Denver series a couple rounds ago was actually probably better. Well, it was better. It was a 7-game slugfest between the Nuggets and this Oklahoma City team. That's really what this is about. As I've said before, and I notice guys, bigger platforms, your college cowards of the world say the main reason why we're not really leaning into teams like this is because these players are not in college long enough. These young players, both led by young teams, we're not watching these players develop throughout the college. We're not following these players like we did a Jordan, a Duncan, or guys like that. It takes a while to build it up a little bit. Not unless they're a phenom that was covered through highlights through high school at around the clock like a LeBron was, per se. But we didn't follow these players. Now we're just now getting to know these two players. Now, if this thing lasts a few years, then I think the ratings would gradually get better and better and better. So that's one thing that is the NBA, and I've said this before he did, I think that they're stuck at. They're really hard-headed, the commissioner, ownership, players union. I don't know who's holding this back, but to make that push this age thing back at least one more year, I would prefer two years out of high school or 3 years instead of one. I would even settle for 2 and let college market these players. Look how highly rated the tournament was in the NCAA. It would be much better to watch players develop in college and follow them on into the league. Then you're going to have a reoccurring. You're spending that much longer building these players with a highly viewed, very healthy product like the college basketball game. And I noted that a couple of European leagues are already folding due to NIL. So maybe the NBA will bite the bullet and admit they've been wrong for years and make that happen. I think that is what it is. Look at the NFL. You've got Green Bay is the smallest sports market, folks. They are the absolute smallest sports market in all of sports, and people love those Green Bay Packer games, okay? But anyways, that's my take on the load ratings per se. I'm okay with it. I actually like this series. I think it's a very good series. But folks, stand by. I've got to take one more quick break here. I forgot to adjust my temperature, and it's 100 degrees in here with this suit on. Stand by, folks.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on SportsScope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks.
All righty. Thank you, Mac. Rest in peace, buddy. I know you're looking down on me. John McGraw there. Okay. Big story. A lot of people are downplaying this story. I'm not one of these people. The NCAA, folks, there was a monumental ruling this past week here in the NCAAs with basically college are going to be able to pay these players with a $2.7 billion settlement. College sports big money era is officially here. The settlement in House versus NCAA brings an end. The NCAA's long-standing tradition on amateurism and air quotes starting this fall. Schools will be able to pay players directly up to $20.5 million here, folks. $20.5 million. Let me go ahead and get all the details here. Basically, you're going to have revenue sharing. Schools can directly pay athletes using their own athletic department revenue allocations. Schools have discretion in how they allocate the money across the sports. The salary cap is expected to impact recruiting and the value of certain positions like quarterback as schools try to maximize their spending with the cap. Roster limits. The settlement also includes roster limits, which have prompted schools to cut players in preparation to rules. The settlement allows schools to start paying athletes. And this year, academic year, the revenue starts July the 1st. We're a few weeks away. I know that, and by the way, the NIL clearinghouse is expected to launch on June 11th, which is today. The first date institutional revenue sharing can happen on the 1st. All right. And I've also noted that the clearinghouse will use fair market value to assess the worth of NIL agreements. Basically, these, as far as the NIL clearinghouse, let me read this to you. All NIL deals of $600 or more with third-party entities must be submitted to a clearinghouse for review. The clearinghouse, run by Doolittle, will determine the fair market value of these deals. The clearinghouse aims to ensure that NIL payments are truly for legitimate business purposes and not solely a way to circumvent the NCAA rules. That's what's been happening. This is what I've said. This is what I've said that would happen years ago when this all first broke down in the court ruling back in 2021. I said, we're going to go through the, oh my God phase. A lot of people's going to get out of the business. Look at Nick Saban. He has retired. You look at guys like Jay Wright, prematurely retired. Okay. You get threats of retirement. You've got guys like the Clemson coach, Dabo Swinney, not wanting to lean into the NIL stuff. This is what I predicted that would happen, that the oh my God side of it. And people just don't like this kind of change and whatnot. But I also said the league will figure this out. The government, the powers to be, will all work together and congruent together to put this thing and to get the calmness into the college sports, because this is a very popular part of America right now. We love college sports. College football is second leading sport in America. Okay. It's second to the NFL. We love American football. I say American because I've been picking up a lot of people from overseas across the pond doing Uber here recently and explaining how crazy we are about American football. So this will be a way to keep players in contract here. This will have more of a stance on it. You'll be able to lock a player into a particular contract. You will be able to steer away teams from using NIL. Will they still try to do it illegally? Probably, but it's good to get some type of rule in place. I know your Paul Fonbons of the world is very skeptical of this. I know Urban Myers, he's optimistic in one ear, but he's cynical in the next. I get it. You're going to still have people try to get around and skate around the rules and whatnot, but I do believe this is a start. This is a start to get some type of stability where you can, as far as these transfer portals, this is going to, now this ain't been in part of this. I think this is the step, though. This is the step to get players, to keep players from transferring, lock them in for like 2 years into a specific contract. Only way they can transfer, per se, if the coach leaves or if the coach simply grants the transfer because a guy got beat out. But it's not going to be this stuff like what happened with Tennessee, where the guy says, I just want more money. I just want more money. I want to shop myself and want more money, which it totally backfired on the guy. But if you got the schools paying them directly, you got some type of lock in a contract. The guys, realistically, Nico knows he made a mistake. He knows he made a mistake. This guy had a calendar year, because he said this in April. He had a calendar year to wait, and he could have went for the NFL. Or he could have, got his stock up and transferred and made some money, but the guy ended up losing $1 million. Remember, he wanted 4 and ended up getting 1. He was making 2 and ended up getting less than 1, going to a worse program than Tennessee. So I do think this is a big deal. I think it settles things. Is it going to be totally settled this first year? No. But I do think this is a huge start, a building block to that particular process of giving teams basically a salary cap and whatnot. And listen, the NIL part is actual NIL. That's what it was designed for. I said it's not going to be used that way. I said it's going to be used in nefarious ways or whatever you want to call it. Well, we'll give you this advertising deal, name, image, and likeness deal in air quotes, if you come to university of whatever, and really we're paying you, the boosters are paying you to come here instead of name, image, and likeness being from a situation where this kid is playing excellent football. We want to put him on our Taco Bell commercial or our car lot dealership commercial. This local kid out of Knoxville, Tennessee, is playing excellent for the University of Tennessee. We want to put him on this after he ran for 200 yards for Tennessee or Tallahassee's Florida State University. That's what name, image, and likeness. We want to use this kid in this type of advertisement or commercial. We want to pay him directly because of that. We don't want to pay him to come to our school because we saw some high school highlights of it. That's not what that was made for. So I do think it's all going to work itself out. I think this is a monumental deal. I think a lot of people, big names, former coaches, college personalities are poo-pooing this. And I'm used to change. I take change with as an opportunity to grow in life. And I think everybody should. And I really do like this. I think it's a big deal. And it should have been done a long time ago. So kudos to this judge who made this. And kudos to the NCAA and the clearinghouse and all getting this stuff squared away. Okay? I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that, but I do not care. All righty then. Get me a sip of water. Had to turn the air down and cool off a little bit. Pretty hot here in the Nashville, Tennessee. Been a hot week here in this area. Okay, moving right along now. Packers Jair Alexander. I did not know this guy had missed this many games. He has missed, at one time, the cornerback went to University of Louisville, I want to say. Excellent drive. Jair Alexander, 2-time Pro Bowler, played with Green Bay Packers. Arguably, at his time, now he's only 28 years old. His time's not been that long. But this guy was arguably one of the best actual cornerbacks in the NFL. And, of course, right around contract time, I noticed he played he played 15 or 16 games right around contract time or and whatnot. Played really well. And the Packers, a team that is very careful with their draft picks, very careful with their with who they extend and whatnot. It's a city-owned team or whatever. It's they have stock and whatnot in this team. But I want to say, around that contract year in 2022, played 16 games. Only other time he played 16 games was in year 2 back in 2019. He was drafted in 2018 out of University of Louisville, 21 years old. I say all that because the last 2 years, this guy's only played 14 games. Yes, that's right. A matter of fact, 3 out of the last 4 years, he's only had one 16-game season. The year before that, he only played 4 games. Now, of course, he played 16 around that contract year, per se, in 22. I'll say all that because they could not trade him, And also, between all these injuries with Jar Alexander, if you don't recall, he was suspended a couple years ago, back in 23, for 1 game for jumping into coin toss. Going against the team rules and whatnot, he jumped the coin toss and got suspended. Long story short, basically he's from North Carolina area. He jumped and something happened. They didn't get the right call there from where they wanted to go at in the kickoff. It ticked the coach off, so they suspended for 1 game. So he's a typical example of a player who got paid and started acting out, doing all these certain things. And quite frankly, some may speculate that these injuries are because he's not in shape. He's just not working hard enough. Very expensive contract here going back to April. I've been reading about him possibly being traded, but teams did not want to pay that big contract for a guy who's played 14 games in 2 years. Not 1 year. The last 2 years he's played 14 games. You throw on that suspension back in 23, there may be some issues, some work ethic issues tied to that, per se. That being said, a change of scenery can do a guy like Jar Alexander good. I do think that somebody will take a look at him. Possibly, let me look and see who it was. I want to say the Bills are interested. The Ravens and the Rams. Those are your teams. Now, this is from the AI. I love this AI. They cite A to Z Sports, Yahoo, and whatnot at teams that may be interested in this guy. He's only 28 years old. Buffalo's right there in the Super Bowl bubble. The Baltimore Ravens, Rams, and the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins, per se, I don't know why he would want to go to the Dolphins. Looks like they got a coach on the hot seat. And I just don't have a lot of faith in them. I would totally X out the Dolphins, per se. The Rams, Buffalo, Baltimore, and the Rams. You put a guy like this with the Ravens, it would be low risk, high reward because he's going to be surrounded with really good players. Buffalo right now, I'm leaning on towards getting back to the Super Bowl. They went heavy in the defense in the offseason, in the draft there. I know they signed Joey Bosa. And now, of course, he's a little banged up too. Now, if you get this guy, Joey Bosa and Jar Alexander's, those are 2 guys, and they're pretty good at corner. I want to say they signed their lead corner here just over the off season. But a guy like this can help you. You can play nickel. You can play him at the number 2, maybe play him at the slot corner. Don't put so much pressure on him. That would be good for Buffalo Bills. That would be the number 1 team I would want to go to. Maybe the Rams. We saw what the Rams pass rush looks like. We know that Rams may be looking at a Jalen. Now, Ramsey, former round, now with the Dolphins. I do think that Ramsey would fit in really good there. I expect that deal to get done sometime or another. Probably going to bring back Ramsey back to the Rams, in my opinion. That's probably what they're thinking about doing. So I would probably be a Buffalo Bill if I'm Jar Alexander. Now, what do you say if you're the Bills? What do you do with a guy who's played 14 games? You give this a non-guaranteed prove-it contract and get him as low as you can possibly get him, preferably something under $10 million with incentives, maybe like a $5 million 1 year prove-it, a game incentive. If you play 12 to 14 games, you get so much. If they get to the playoffs, you get that much more. And if you play so many snaps, you get that much more in your contract. That's what I'm doing if I'm the Buffalo Bills. If I'm Jar Alexander, I'm thinking, okay, I just got a huge contract here from the Green Bay Packers. I've had my guaranteed money. They've cut me. They had to pay me the guaranteed money from that contract, from that second contract. Now I'm thinking Super Bowl contender. Where can I go to play in the Super Bowl? You know, the Eagles really wasn't coming up. The 49ers haven't been mentioned, although I think they're pretty good at that position. I might throw in a team like the 49ers. I think they got a shot, but the Bills would be the number one team that I would want to look at. And basically, he would be a depth guy because you can't trust the guy who's only played 14 games in 2 years. So this would motivate him to come into shape. It's still June. He's still got plenty of time to get in shape. Change of scenery would help a young man like this, you know. It would really help him out a lot. Man, am I thirsty. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Speaking of a little Seinfeld flashback for y'all, you Seinfeld lovers, that was a Kramer usage there. I may go back and watch that one. My mom came by today and helped clean up the apartment here. She's been coming by during the week and accidentally turned don't ask how she did it, but she messing around with buttons on my TV and turned my Netflix back on. So I had to cancel it again because I wanted to cancel it for summer. I'm working so much, but it was already paid. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I got Netflix to July 15th. I might as well catch up on some old Seinfelds and, you know, see the one where Kramer, I think it was the guy put in a Woody Allen movie, and his line was, "These pretzels are making me thirsty." But he ended up tearing up a glass or something like that and getting in Woody Allen's eye, glass in Woody Allen's eye, and they end up cutting him off of the of the movie, which I thought was hilarious. So anyways, I digress. By the way, I want to shout out to all my Uber riders between segments here. You know, a lot of folks I've been meeting over the weekend. Last weekend, we had CMA Fest here at Nashville. And anybody, I gave out so many The Real Sports Scope cards here, new subscribers. I just want to thank everybody for supporting the program, okay? Just a little quick shout out there. All right. Interesting story here. Simone Biles she's Olympic gold medalist, gymnast, worldwide known. I mean, she's great. You know, great to watch. Married to NFL player Jonathan Owens, who's now with the Chicago Bears. Talked about them last year in the Hard Knocks series. So she's basically retired now from the Olympics after the Olympics ended last year, Biles. And for some weird reason, she wanted to drift. She wanted to drift in what I call, and I'll explain this a little bit later, into that political lane. And I just don't know what it is with former athletes. Whether you want to say former athletes, whether you want to say commentators, your ESPN people of the world, I just are former ESPN personalities, people like Simone Biles. I don't know if they get bored with that lane of sports per se. I know that a lot of the people, as far as the commentators and whatnot, your ESPNs of the world, I think they get bored because they don't want to expand their mind on the sports horizon and dig deeper into the personal stories and whatnot. get a little bit lazy. They see a hot button political issue. They see it trending on the internet, and they want to jump on one side or the other. That's happened about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit before that. And now that is just all over. You got guys like Stephen A. Smith going it and playing both sides of it. And maybe that's the future we have, where you really get people riled up and stuff. I really don't like to get in that lane. But I will say this. This issue with her, and Riley Gaines is the Olympic, she's the college swimmer of University of Kentucky. She's been outspoken about, and I will say this. I like Riley Gaines. I like what she stands for. I like her calls. She went against this Leah Thomas, and I've talked about this man turned woman, this college swimmer that decided to be a male swimmer, decided he wanted to be a female swimmer. He was like 100 something or whatever in the country, and as a male swimmer, and he wanted to be a female swimmer and start dominating. But anyways, I think she kind of slid into, she's really leaning into this to build her own brand, to build a career off of. I'll say this. A lot of people wouldn't say that about Gaines, So I do think she's done this to kind of get some fame and fortune off of it. That's my point on Gaines. Now, Simone Biles, these two got into it last week, sometime late last week online, in an online feud that spewed out, and now it turned into a pretty good story here, pretty big story here. Basically, Gaines was just talking about I want to say it was a Minnesota girls high school softball team led by a boy, claimed to be a girl now, and dominating and winning the state championship or something like that, and how terrible it is. And for those of you who watch this, bro, I've talked about the boxers and stuff in the Olympics last year, how horrible that was for a man, and we got proved that was a man that said he was a woman and somehow slipped through the cracks and boxed against other women in the Olympics last year. So anyways, so Simone Biles comes at Gaines for this. Yes, you heard that right. Another female athlete coming at a female athlete for calling out this nonsense with Minnesota here, with this whole transgender playing in women's sports here, calling her a bully, pick on somebody your own size and whatnot. And I thought, yeah, that's easy coming from someone that is 4'9" and is a gymnast. I wonder if she had to play a contact sport or compete against men, would she ever say something like that? And they go back and forth per se. And then Simone Biles, a few days pass, and then she realizes she is on the wrong side of this thing. She's on the wrong side of this thing. She was eager. I think Biles was eager to get into that political lane, So she later meaning yesterday, this happened last week, yesterday, she puts out a statement apologizing to Riley Gaines for what she said. So check this out. And this is how I knew, okay, she's trying to weave into that political lane, which is really bumpy. Really bumpy. I don't recommend getting into it. But this is what she said in her apology. If I can find it. I got so many notes here, folks. It's really hard to keep up with all this stuff here. Okay. If I can find it. Good Times, Bad. That's a great documentary on the on Netflix about Led Zeppelin, by the way. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see it. Let's see. I put it down here at the bottom, folks. Just kind of bear with me. I'm a one-man show here. Said she's not advocating for. I don't know what I did with that thing. I hate it when I can't find it. When I'm not looking for it, it pops right up. But when I am looking for it, you know, I have to scan through all my notes here. She said I was not advocating for policies. Let's see where we got here. I think I screenshotted some other stuff here because I was looking around for 2 or 3 things here. But basically what she was saying was she was using terms like equity. She said something like, no, that was Gaines. That was Gaines, actually. She started talking about man, I cannot believe I lost that, folks. You know, I tell you what, when you don't do a show every day like I have not been doing because I've had to work, you start to lose your fastball a little bit. But basically, Biles was saying, using terms like equity. And when you start hearing terms like that being used, that's basically she's using that is left-wing talking points about equity and all that stuff. And I'm trying to get the direct. If I have to, I will. She says, I was not advocating for policies that compromise fairness in women's sports. My objection is to be singling out children for public scrutiny in ways that feel personal and harmful. Individual athletes should have never be the focus of criticism by a flawed system that no one has control over. I believe sports organizations have a responsibility to come up with rules and inclusion while maintaining fair competition. We all want future for sport is fair. Okay, that's the first of it, and I can't find the second part of it. But basically, she was, and listen, it's not Riley Gaines's. That is not her job to do that. Now, she could come up with something like that, Simone Biles, but she wanted to get in that political lane. She got bored. She was eager to get in that political. And let me tell you something, folks. I don't care what party you are and whatnot. Men, biological men with our body structure should not and ever play in women's sports. You know, you want to come up with the transgender league, Simone Biles. You want to come up and with some kind of administrators and come up with a travel league around the country and set that up for transgender league. That's perfectly fine with me. That's perfectly fine with all the people some say this is a 90-10 issue or an 80-20. This has got to be a 99%. To me, I think it's a 99%, 1%. And I really believe that these type of issues, that anybody that takes that side, particularly in the media, some lady from USA Today wrote a big article about Simone Biles being a hero for talking out to Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines has been on Fox News and all that. And this has turned into a political issue so she's saying, okay, that person's on these right-wing stations, so I'm going to take that side because I want to show the left-wing people I'm on their side. Well, what gain are you getting from that, Simone Biles? What are you getting for that? Who are you trying to impress? Are you trying to be a politician, Or are you just trying to jump aside because you just like the right side politicians and the right side of the country because we're so divided? So you want to jump on the side of the men playing in women's sports just to be against this side because you don't like this side for other particular reasons or whatnot. That's what I think she was trying to do. And that's what I think a lot of the people who despise the right, and I don't just right despise it, but the people that get in that, that's the only reason I think that people are even a lot. Now, some people, some transgender people that may actually want to play in sports and whatnot, share bathrooms and whatever. But I think there's other people that they despise that other side so bad that they jump on these issues that are so easy, hit and miss. Bar none, men should never play in women's sports. Are you kidding me? I mean, we're in a country where we speak against domestic violence in this country. But did you see the what was it, the volleyball player out of North Carolina? They got the ball spiked in her face by a biological male, and she has permanent nerve damage. He had permanent nerve damage. And these politicians would not stand up when the president said that we're withholding money from federal funds from schools that want to play men and women's sports. And half the room did not applaud that because of his politics. This should not be a political issue. It should not be a political issue. Absolutely. And if you make it a political issue, you're part of the problem. And if you're an administrator and you make this and you let this go in these school districts, you're part of the problem. People in Minnesota, So I just think that Simone Biles, she saw this as an opportunity to go against somebody because of her political beliefs are different, And it gets me fired up. So she got in that lane, and then she realized how stupid that was, because I noticed her husband didn't say nothing other than, hey, I love my wife, blah, blah, blah. He took some kind of picture of Jonathan Owens, the Chicago Bear, because he knows she's in the wrong. I just don't know why, but if I have something against a political person or party, and I see it issue by issue, that's one I'm not going to touch with a 10-foot, or that's one I'm going to use my common sense and say, yeah, I don't agree with this group of people on this right here, but this shouldn't be a political issue. This is a right and wrong issue. This is what I'm believing in, And I like Simone Biles. Hopefully she'll get it together. Hopefully she'll wake up one day and maybe she has some kids on her. She's not that old. She may be retiring from the Olympics. She ain't, 60-something years. She has some kids one day and looks and say, I don't want my little girl getting the crap beat out of her by a little boy in some kind of sport, I support a trans league, but I don't want somebody beating up on my little girl, some man. But, yeah, that one got me fired up, folks. That one got me fired up. There in other news, did not get a chance. By the way, actor Harris Yulin died at 87. He was Mel Bernstein from the movie Scarface, by the way. I just saw that here on my load here. By the way, I meant to talk about this early, and I tell you what. Now, I did endorse the fact that the Knicks, switching gears here, should have fired Tom Thibodeau. I thought that he's gotten a habit. He's playing the starters too much. I thought it was way too much hero ball out of Brunson. But now I'm looking at, if you got a plan, if you fire somebody, especially a coach with the success rate that he's had, you've got to have a plan in place and almost a lock of the guy that you're going to get to replace him. You almost got to have an agreement in place for that coach because I'm reading right now that the Knicks requested permission to speak with Billy Donovan, but were denied by the Bulls. Then I read that the Knicks were seeking permission to speak with Jason Kidd. And I thought, Doka, Jason Kidd, why would you want to trade Jason Kidd right now? Why would you let him go? when they were in the finals 2 years ago, and they've got a great team coming in with Cooper Flagg going to be on that team with Anthony Davis and Derek Lively and P.J. Washington. Why would I want to let my coach go that's coming into his own? Jason Kidd. Ime Udoka was a number 2 seed for the Houston Texans last year. Why would I want to do that? Why would the Knicks do that? Why would the Knicks even think to do that? Why wouldn't the Knicks already have something set up with Jeff Van Gundy? Why wouldn't they already I don't know. I know that Jay Wright, maybe make him an offer he can't refuse. Now, Wright supposedly said he's not going to take the job. So now you're really getting down there. Mike Malone would be the guy. Go out and get Malone from Denver. You know, he's a guy who won a championship. And bring in somebody to help him out with the offense. That's what I would do. But they're talking about, and then they wanted to talk with the assistant coach there with the, I want to say with the Milwaukee Bucks, the former Lakers coach, which I'm not sure he would be a good coach there. They'd play defense and whatnot, but it sounds like they don't have a plan with Darvin Ham. The Bucks did give Knicks permission to speak with Darvin Ham. So if you're getting guys like Darvin Ham there, that looks like that they didn't have a plan. Now, it has leaked out officially, and I'm pretty sure by what I've been reading that that it was James Dolan's call, that it was the owner's call. This might not be a good thing. But that being said, if you get the hire right, it was worth it. It's a big risk, but you got to take risk at some point. You know, I mentioned last week the Grady Little, 2003, fired after the debacle in the ALCS, the 2003 ALCS, Boston Red Sox leaving Pedro Martinez in too long. That's a very Tom Thibodeau. Some people call him Thibodeau. No, it's not spelled that way. I call him Thibodeau. It looks like it's spelled that way. Whatever. Like move, keeping his starters too long, not going to the bench. Well, we saw Terry Francona hired it next year. They won the World Series. So whoever this guy is, and I'm hoping it's not Johnny Bryant, the assistant out of Cleveland. I'm hoping that it's, you know, an experienced coach. I would probably go with Mike Malone. He's available. Go ahead and hire him. Pay him the money. Bring him in. Take a shot at the championship. But if you bring in somebody like a Darvin Ham or a Johnny Bryant or somebody we've never heard of, and they don't win the championship, this was a failure. It's championship or bust, man. You said, what if they make the final? Nah, it's championship. Because you would say, you can make the argument that maybe they would have made the next step with a Tom Thibodeau. To get into an actual championship, you say, okay, well, you know, I don't think Thibodeau could have done that. And Thibodeau left a long, heartfelt message on the on social media a week after being fired, which was out today. He'll get another opportunity as an assistant. I'd give him a shot in one of these college personally. I think he's good at coaching defense. He reminds me of the Houston coach. You know, he reminds me of Kelvin Sampson, University of Houston. You know, so Legion Hoops puts out unreal. The Knicks request to interview Billy Donovan, but the Bulls declined. So now they're kind of turning a bit into a laughingstock per se. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here. Got a little heated there with the Simone Biles stuff. How she's simply just trying to do something to make a name for herself. I don't think she really cares. And then she backpedals. And again, I like Riley Gaines. I think she's on the right side of things, but I also think she's trying to get a little fame and fortune off of the men competing in women's sports too. She's catapulting that. And as far, oh, by the way, a little detail here, Aaron Rodgers practically going to the Steelers for nothing. I mean, I had a feeling they wouldn't hardly paying him nothing. $10 million guaranteed. This is about a $13 million contract. Well, it's 2 years in a row, ain't it, that the Pittsburgh Steelers have gotten a deal. Remember, they were paying practically the league minimum to Russell Wilson because Denver was paying most of his contract last year, and they got to the playoffs only to get put out in the first round. Now they're getting Aaron Rodgers, although he's 41, off of, basically a $13 million contract could go up to 19 with incentives, one of them being win the Super Bowl. I still say they're probably a 7-9 win team. Probably about like last year. Maybe if with the right draw, maybe they can win first round in the football game. We'll see what happens. Now that TJ Watt wants a new contract at 30 years old, they would be wise to move him. But they'll probably give this guy $35 to $40-something million at 30 years old and give him a 2-year contract. And they're going to end up about like they were last year, although they'll be watchable somewhat more in the regular season. Although I do think that they have a decent receiving core there. If Broderick Jones can hold up at left tackle, the second-year player out of Georgia, I think that could be big for them as well. It's going to be an interesting team to follow as the preseason comes along with training camp. Rodgers ends up getting married. Nobody knows about. So he's kind of going through some things, you know. He had a friend with cancer. He got married, going through some life changes. But, hey, it wasn't about money. It was about football. And typically he didn't want to go out the way that things ended the way they did with the Jets. And the key is for him is to stay healthy, you know, is to stay healthy and whatnot. So, anyways, folks, if you like the show, share the show. I'm going to get off here. I got to load this thing up. I may actually get out there and do some Uber again. So, hopefully tomorrow, folks, I'll be back here with the Mad New Yorker. We'll talk about Game 3. Listen, the winner of Game 3 wins about 80% of the time. Again, I'm calling for the Pacers to win Game 3 tonight. And I don't even know what the score is. I'm going to call them for them to win Game 3 tonight, but still lose the series. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. So have a good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place here on the Real Sports Scoop.